So how's quitting sugar and fucking carbs working out for you, huh? Like a bag of shit, as some of you like to point out in the comments that I'm ugly and, don't know what I'm talking about, but we'll get to that in a minute. Week 1 of the fucking ketogenic adaptation is in the bag, and I'm really happy with how it's working out. I did get some keto flu though. Yep. My energy tanked a lot during the weekend, but as this week is going on, I'm noticing that it's getting better. Now, when I say my energy tanked, I mean I didn't really feel like doing shit, which I know is hormonally triggered. It causes you to not want to do shit sometimes in your diet. And I know that part of the fat adaptation process is getting my hormones to do their fucking job. The job that they don't do when you intermittent fast alone with a high carb, high sugar diet. Which is, if any of you are eating that shit and fasting, you get hungry a lot. And when you eat, you fucking eat. You don't fuck around when it comes time to eat. Part of the ketogenic fat adaptation for those of us who are... Now, let me preface this, because I know I'm going to get some vegans and some fuckmaster pounders that carb load and all that shit that are going to be like, hey, dickhead, I do this and it worked fine for me. Meh. I'm talking to insulin-resistant people. People who got really fat, got diabetes, blood pressure medication... fucked up. People who are fucked up. I'm not talking about the guy that's got a little pooch and trying to see his fucking abs and make his muscles bulge. Go watch one of them fucking Kino Body or one of them other motherfucking, the Hodge twins. I love the Hodge twins. I ain't going to pump iron in the gym to get all bulked up and big, huge fucking muscles so that I could be on the cover of Men's Fitness at age 41. I just don't want to fucking die. All right? I don't want to be fat, and I don't want to fucking die. That's my goddamn fucking philosophy on these videos. Sorry, I just read this comment. I'm going to read it to you. Hold on here. And I don't normally get fired up at negative comments, but this one was particularly ignorant, and it just goes to show that the person who wrote it is particularly ignorant. But I want to talk about it a little bit because of the things that, aside from the ignorance he showed, the things that other people might be thinking that kind of could be misleading, I guess. I don't know. So let's talk about it here. Let's get down to fucking business, because you guys want more podcasty shit, and I'm currently blizzarded into a truck stop and can't go home, which is one of the reasons I look like a bag of shit. But then again, I very rarely give a shit how I look in my videos. I'm not trying to sell you a fucking fake version of myself. This is me. This is me after sitting in the truck, for fucking 24 hours. I haven't done a fucking feedback show in a while, but Adrienne Wong wrote, "You stupid and ugly as fuck. You don't know how to use IF." Alright, well, first of all, did it, got results, was eating Pop-Tarts while I was doing it. So I'd say I know something about fasting. Not to mention hundreds and hundreds of hours of research that go way beyond the scope of the sources this motherfucker suggests for the rest of you. It says, "You don't know how to use IF the right way. That's why you look miserable. You're giving the wrong info and should stop doing vlogs. I suggest Kino Body, Twin Muscle, or Fledge Fitness instead. This guy is misleading, and he's right. He's just an asshole. Now, that reinforces the fact that I always say that I'm not an expert, and I never claim to be. And the problem with those sources that you're citing, most of them claim. Now, the Hodge twins are nice enough to say, all of this is just advice. Do what the fuck you want to do. I agree with that completely, and I'm a big fan of theirs. And when I started out intermittent fasting, I watched a lot of those. The big body building bulky motherfuckers that are like, I can see my fucking abs. You need to go and fast right now so you can see your goddamn abs. And while you're at it, spend 3 hours of your life in the gym and build your fucking muscles and feel great and eat whatever the fuck you want because you're going to the gym. But none of them motherfuckers really is dealt with obesity. They weren't becoming diabetic. They don't know the struggle. And some of them can get away with eating like shit because they have less insulin resistance than I do. They probably don't have fatty liver, or maybe they do and they just don't know about it because it's surrounded by fucking muscle. I fully support Kino Body. I've watched a lot of his videos. I fully support the Hodge twins. I don't want to do what they do as far as physical activity. I don't have time. I'm getting fucking old and I don't need to be a big bulky motherfucker. I'm not trying to land babes at the goddamn fucking bar by being able to pop abs out of my shit and say, look at me, look at me. You know, I don't need to take my fucking shirt off to tell you the science behind it all. The fact that we're sick and need to fucking do something about it. I don't need to do that. And it's great that they're doing that. And they're selling people who are gonna chase that dream. And some of those people may get there, but a lot of us fucking don't. And we don't because we don't address the cause of our problem. Insulin fucking resistance is the root of why we get fat. And for a lot of us that are insulin resistant, I'm not saying all of us, but most of us, today, if you are sick and obese, chances are you fit the insulin resistant category, and you owe it to yourself to at least try the advice that is working for a lot of people. That includes fasting, not eating from the time you get up to the time you go to bed, and limiting your carbs and sugar intake, however much you can. The more the better. Now, I'm realistic. I know it's fucking hard, and we're going to go through that along with my results for the first week of the Ketogenic Diet. And as many of you know, if you haven't gone back and watched my previous video all the way through, I gave out my waist measurement around my belly, and it's not something I'm proud of. And it happened when I came off of the Ketogenic Diet, but continued to fast. Which tells me I can't eat this shit anymore if I want. I have to make a choice. I'm at that crossroads where you're gonna decide either I'm gonna fucking get fat, I'm gonna eventually get sick, or I'm gonna die, or I'll look like I do now the rest of my life, but I probably won't live as long a life. And I have to make a decision, and I'm working on it. Do I cut out sugar and carbs and live slightly longer? And by slightly, I mean I've done a lot of damage to myself over the years, so I don't anticipate that I'm going to do as well as somebody that's done this their whole life. But can I push that sickness and illness that's probably inevitable for me at this point far enough down the line to live it like into my 70s and 80s? I'd be happy with that, And the thing that happens most in my family is heart attacks. which is how this whole fucking diet thing started. It's why we were told to eat low fat. That's why the food fucking pyramid's bottom rung is grains and sugars and carbs. And it's why I'm pissed off about it, because I was brought up on that, addicted to sugar from the fucking womb, like all of today's kids. Every motherfucking one of the little bastards is addicted to fucking sugar and carbs right now. Don't believe me? Take it away from them and see what happens. I'm a little pissy about it. You know, I hate it when I get people that want to shut me down, and that want to shut down people who are do a lot more scientific research than I do, who are well educated and well versed and know the science behind things. Now, those other channels that you brought up are good for motivation, and I applaud them for that. They are good. And some of them do know a little bit of the science behind it, but they don't spend a whole lot of their time reading studies, reading large, volumes of books on the subject, watching hours and upon hours of fucking lectures on biochemistry, human metabolism. All of these things you can do. Every one of you could spend a lot of time researching this shit. And then you don't need people like Kinobody, the Hodge twins, or myself to break it down for you and get you motivated. Because a lot of you are results oriented. You just want someone to give you some guidelines. You want to try it and see if it works. That's what most people want to do. And in order for me to help you with that, I have to go do my fucking homework. I can't just sit here on my ass and do no research. I have to go out and find out why. Why is it this way? So that I can tell you the things that I'm doing. I'm not telling you to do them. I'm saying this is what I do. And that maybe what I'm doing will work for you. And you should try it to figure out if it works for you or not. I'm not going to think bad of you if you try it and you don't like it or you can't do it. At least you tried it. A lot of people don't even do that. They're like, they automatically dismiss you. They watch Dr. Greger and they're like, hey, how are you feeling? And they're like, no, I'm wrong. You're wrong and you should fucking fuck yourself and die and go on. Get off YouTube, bitch. Can you tell I'm a little riled up? Because I'm tired of the pushback that people get when they present alternative ideas. Science is supposed to be challenging your own beliefs so that you can figure out why things happen. And we're in a society now where you are fucking put on trial, like Professor Tim Noakes is, for trying to prove an alternative hypothesis to a goddamn hypothesis, by the way, which is what you call something that hasn't been proven yet, and it hasn't. The diet heart hypothesis, the low-fat, high-carb diet hypothesis, not proven. To be fair, the low-carb, high-fat hypothesis and the fucking metabolic weight loss hypothesis also are still hypothesis. Why is this? Why is it like that? Because it's too expensive to do a controlled study. You have to imprison people and control their goddamn diet for a huge amount of time. And I don't know about you, but I don't think being locked up in a fucking room and given all my meals every day is quite how I want to spend the next 10 years of my life. And they would probably have to pay me a shit ton of money to make me want to do that. Honestly, I probably would do it if I could blog and do my YouTube shit just so I could show people. But you can't realistically do the science needed. It's such a complex problem with so many variables that in order to do it, you can't just tell people how to eat and then track their results, because you don't know what else they're doing that could influence the results. Whether or not they're exercising, whether or not they're smoking, whether or not they're drinking, whether or not they're fucking. I don't know. There's all kinds of shit people do in addition to diet that affects the outcome. Stress. You can't track stress. One guy's fucking kicking back playing video games all day. Probably not stressed. The other guy's the air traffic controller that's keeping planes from crashing into each other. He's probably got a higher cortisol level than the guy playing fucking video games. I'm just saying. You can't track all of these variables. So when somebody comes on to me and it comes to my channel and comments, and I try to ignore the vast majority of them, but every once in a while I feel I need to address it. When somebody comes on the channel and they're like, you can't do that, and then they point out fitnessblog.com, or joebodybuilder.org, and they say this guy is right and you're wrong because you're fat and ugly. Look at this guy, he's still fat, he's not working for him. Look at him, he doesn't look healthy. You don't know shit about health. My health markers, according to the doctors, who, by the way, probably don't really know, are fine. I went to the doctor, told him everything I'm doing, told him my weight, told him I'm still trying to lose some weight around here. Told him what I did to lose the weight. Kind of got an eye roll out of the motherfucker for it. He wanted to give me the fucking diet herd hypothesis and send me to the gym. But when it came down to advice, he gave none. And continued to give none. And that's what you're going to get. They don't want you to get better. Because if you get better without spending money, they lose revenue. Pharmaceutical companies lose money. Food companies lose money. Gyms lose money. Fitness gurus lose money. Personal trainers lose money. Everybody's got fucking money in the game. I don't. I'm telling you to figure out what works for yourself. And if it doesn't work, it probably is fucking wrong. Or if you have to constantly pound on it. Because we're not supposed to have to do this. We are not supposed to have a Fitbit. We are not supposed to fucking sit there and count our calories. We are supposed to be able to eat and have our bodies control our weight for us with no conscious effort whatsoever. But we went and done fucked that up. We did. And I'm sorry to yell. I'm just, it's fucking, it's frustrating as fuck. And this is not an easy thing to do, not because it's the wrong thing to do. The low carb, high fat diet, keeping your carbs under 50. Well, 50 is the top end, and you can do a lot with 50. But the low carb, high fat isn't hard to do because I can't eat it, or it's not satisfying, or I'm hungry all the time, or I have to go to the gym, pound the fuckmaster, or anything like that. I don't have to do or worry about any of those things on a low carb, high fat diet. Why? Because when you become fat adapted, which I told you it takes a while, when you become fat adapted, your body does it for you. Holy shit. And when I have a guy that worked in sports medicine who did all of the classic dogma of, eat less, move more, stuff carb loading your ass off to run a marathon. When I see a guy like that do a complete fucking 180 after being diagnosed with diabetes, despite the fact he did what he was told to do, and told others to do what he was told to do, like many of the doctors and nutritionists and fitness experts do today. And not a one of them opened a biochemistry book to really see what works. And it's right fucking there, and it's been there for years, but nobody wants you to know that because there's no money in it. And we're all paying the price as a result. We're all getting fatter and sicker, and the ones who are skinny are getting fucking sicker. So you don't need to be a big mathematician, and you don't need to attack the messengers that are giving you information to make a decision. Because the ones that are supposed to be helping you aren't. They're not giving you the information because it cuts into their goddamn paycheck. And that includes a whole hell of a lot of scientists. So when I hear somebody break the mold, that gets pounced on, that gets ostracized, that gets attacked for the shit they're saying, That's when I listen. That's when I say, wait a minute. I give a lot more weight to Professor Noakes than I would to somebody like Dr. Greger or one of these other fucking experts who is just nudging along the whole calories in, calories out, nudging along animals bad for you, you know, even though for millions of years we could eat animals just fine. And then they say, well, I always started factory farming. And I agree, there's a lot of fucked up things that go on. But we got to do the best we can with what we have to work with. And I can tell you from my previous keto adaptation that I didn't bother with organic meat. I ate what I could fucking afford. And I was broke as fuck at the time. So I bought processed fucking meats, mainly steaks and hamburger with a lot of fat on them. I bought eggs. I didn't look to see if they were organic, plucked from the fucking virgin chicken on the fucking hill and the fucking pretty pasture on the package that says organic next to it. I didn't worry about that. And I said to myself, I'm going to try the shitty stuff. And if I'm not having, good energy, if I'm not feeling good, if I feel lethargic, if I have symptoms of some kind, or if I stall in progress, then I'll try and find the grass-fed, pasture-raised, coddled, petted, happy, warm, happy, expensive as fuck organic shit. I haven't felt the need to do that yet, and to be honest, it's almost impossible for me to eat on the road organic. Because organic shit goes bad, alright? And I can't run a refrigerator all the time, it kills the battery, especially when it's cold. So, I'm forced to eat our fucking factory farm meats. If you can, I'd recommend maybe going to the farmer's market. Even go look at the farms that the farmer's market is filled with. Because they're your local farmers. Go look and see. Are the cows out there in the field going and doing their happy moo cow shit? Or are they coddled into these little shit-filled fucking stalls eating corn all day? I don't know that when I go to the farmer's market, what they feed their livestock. But they damn sure charge it like it's all grass-fed. If you have the time to go research that, then you should. Know where your food comes from. And I know that a lot of the meats and fats and eggs that I eat on a ketogenic diet come from shitty places. And that I'm at risk for getting like E. coli or some other fucking bacterial infection from poor meats. And I try to do my best to, but I got bigger concerns right now than that. Because to me, the more immediate threat is sugar and carbs, because I have a fatty liver, and it's caused by being insulin resistant and eating sugar and carbs. And I know this, and I hate that that's the case for me. I feel like I've been gutted of all the fucking goodness that I believed in life. A lot of pleasure in my life was derived from food-related events, and all of those events had goddamn sugar and carbs as the centerpiece. Nearly every time we go to visit family nowadays, we gotta have dinner. Or we hang out with friends, we gotta go out to dinner. Every fucking social event is based on food. So the biggest challenge and pitfall of a ketogenic diet isn't whether or not it's healthy for you. It is for most people. And I do believe it's for most people because most people are sick and having metabolic issues. Not just obesity, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, fatty liver, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. You don't know you got it unless you go get a fucking biopsy. I'm sure there's markers to be tested, but I'm pretty sure no one's testing them because no one's ever told me about my fatty liver, and I can see it plain as day. Because the rest of me lost weight. That area didn't. And that's the first place the fat goes. Because your liver's right there, it makes the fat. Your liver's making the fat out of sugar and carbs when it's full of glycogen. And if you're insulin resistant, it's never completely full of glycogen, which means it's always making fat. I didn't know that till recently. You know, I've made video after video pounding home this whole, you know, your liver, you know, you gotta watch your tank, you know, you gotta keep your glycogen low. Little did I know that, what if my liver isn't able to absorb to the point it's full of glycogen, and then it decides that, you know, it either thinks it's already full, or, you know, it tries to make more sugar to fill it up. I'm leaning more towards it tries to make more, it does gluconeogenesis to try and fill it up, but then it ends up even more overwhelmed with sugar and insulin, and then decides it's time to make fat out of that. And then your high insulin shoves that right into your ass and around your liver and everywhere else. And then we go out and fast for 3 or 4 days to try and knock that shit out and burn it off. But fasting is probably the equivalent of exercise, hormonally speaking. As in, when you fast, you get hungry and you try and recoup the energy you lost. And if you stop fasting, as I've said before, you regain the weight. So it becomes a question, do I want to fast the rest of my life? Or can I do something that maybe I don't have to fast as long? I also know from the ketogenic diet I was able to achieve a lot of weight loss by just doing daily 23-hour fasts. I still believe in the 1 meal a day. And on a ketogenic diet, you don't get hungry at all. Unless you overexert yourself physically, in which case you get hungry, you eat, and then you're full, and then you stop eating, and you're fine. And you don't gain shit tons of weight. It's really hard to gain weight on a ketogenic diet. It's not, you know, there's people that can probably challenge themselves to do it, but they're force feeding themselves at that point. They're not hungry when they're eating. They're eating despite the fact that they're hungry. And I've done that a few times in my life, and it's not fun. Your body starts going, hey, fuck it, we're full. You need to stop. Put that shit down. I'm done. And we just keep going because, wow, damn it, I'm out eating. Everybody, fuck this shit. I paid to get into this buffet. I gotta eat every goddamn fucking thing I can to save the money. I used to do that. I used to go into the goddamn all-you-can-eat buffets and be like, look, I just spent $15 to sit down on this here buffet, and so that means I need to eat 4 meals worth of food so that I get the economical benefit of the buffet. You know, and we do that math in our heads, and we use it as a means to justify us to fucking overeat, even when our bodies and our hormones tell us to stop. You know, which is fine from a survival perspective, but we don't have a food, you know, shortage in the United States. We don't. Even people who are poor get subsidies to go and buy food with. So, anyway, I just wanted to comment on that. Now, this is going to be I'm trying to do another decently long video, mainly because I'm waiting for that shit to render so I can slack the rest of the day. I'm currently reading The Big Fat Surprise, Why Butter, Meat, and Cheese Belong in a Healthy Diet by Nina Techholz. And the reason I'm reading that is a lot of people are reading that in the low carb, high fat community, because she went out and did more fucking research than anyone around. She's a journalist. She was unbiased. Used to be a vegetarian. It's striking. First we got Mr. fucking calories in, calories out guy says, fuck that shit. Exercise doesn't do shit for weight loss. And he says that. You can quote him on that. He probably didn't say it that way. I'm the only one that apparently talks like that, according to the comments I get. But he's basically, you got an exercise guy says, oh, exercise doesn't mean shit for weight loss. Now you got a vegetarian that's telling you to eat fucking meat, eggs, and cheese, and all the fucking animal shit you can cram into your face. Granted, vegetarians were doing some dairy. They're not quite as hardcore as vegan. So, and there's an area I'm going to look into for my vegan audience who's mainly here for the fasting stuff. And there's not a lot of vegans that watch me because I'm a little hard on you guys. I know I am. You know, I'm sorry, but I believe in animal fats and proteins. And the research supports it. Our human history supports it. There's entire societies that don't even eat vegetables at all. that live long, healthy lives. That supports it. I believe that an argument could be made there are some people that have genetically adapted to be able to eat that way and thrive. But the majority of us haven't. And there are essential amino acids, essential proteins, essential fat-soluble vitamins that you have to eat a fuck ton of vegetables and fruits. And most fruits are devoid of nutrition as far as the amount you need to eat to get what your body is supposed to have. And I still don't really know what that is, because how do I know they're not feeding me a line of shit on that like they are everything else? But that's all conspiracy theory fucking bullshit. But what I do know is a lot of fat and meats are very nutrient dense, particularly in the fat-soluble vitamins. And not just the lean meats. We're talking fat meats. Meats that a lot of us don't even like to eat. And I'm not sure I'm going to be able to train myself to start eating them. You know, liver, fucking all the fatty parts of the body, fatty organs, are what primitive cultures live off of. They give the goddamn lean meat and the chicken breast to the dog. And they eat the fat, the brain, the fucking, liver, all of the fucking fatty shit. They pick off the animal before they even think about the lean meat, and they usually don't give a fuck. The lean meat's like shit to them. They fuck lean meat. They don't care. And they live fucking great lives without a goddamn vegetable in sight. Now, they probably haven't tasted the ecstasy of sugar. And from what I've heard and read, the ones that leave that society and go out into our fucked up world succumb to the diseases at alarming rates. Because they come here and they taste our fucking sugar, and it throws their hormones way out of whack because they're definitely not adapted. Anyone that's fat adapted, when you go and eat carbs and sugar, you're going to notice that it has a deeper, more profound effect on you. As far as no energy, feeling like shit, having to sleep. It is going to affect you probably twice as much as it does when you're fucking carb addicted and loading every day. And that is because you're insulin resistant and your body switches its primary energy. And then in order to eat carbs again, your body has to readapt to that. Your body isn't quick on the dime when it comes to switching between being a carb burner and a fat burner. So you just gotta look into the science of it, right? I can't preach it enough. And read some books on the subjects, and try things. Above all else, trying things. At some point, you vegans out there, you tried veganism and decided it was for you. And maybe you improved on it. For those of you who went to the gym, some of you went there and lost shit tons of weight and started building muscle. And you have to go 6 times a week to keep that going. But you liked it, and it worked for you. I'm here to talk to people that it didn't work for. Like myself. Who did all of that shit. For ridiculous amounts of time. Also, I could just keep my jobs. Not that I even gave a fuck about my health or my looks or my body back then. I just did it because I didn't want them to fuck with me no more. And you know what? I couldn't sustain it because I don't enjoy doing those things. I do a lot of physical activity. I go hiking. I go out and do things. I don't feel the need to be more endurance-based or more able to do those things, and I do believe exercise does provide health benefits independent of weight loss. It has nothing to do with weight loss. If you want to build more muscle and more endurance and more stamina and be more physically fit, to be able to run a few blocks without getting winded or to go run up the stairs without passing out, all of that, exercise. Peeling the fucking candy bar and the chocolate fucking soda that you drank, knocking them calories out of your body is not gonna work because your hormones won't let it. And you will be hungry. In which case, willpower becomes your only means of sustainability, and some of us don't have good willpower to plow through that. Particularly those of us addicted to sugar and carbs. And I'm trying to cure that in myself. So, I realize that a lot of you have come to my channel because I preached you could eat junk and fast and lose weight. All of which is true to a point. But you cannot eat junk and fix your health. You cannot eat junk and cure your fatty liver or remove your visceral fat, because every piece of junk you eat makes more visceral fat, has more toxic damage on your livers if you're insulin resistant. These are all my opinions and theories based on the science that I have followed since I started this journey. Now, if we go back a couple years in my videos, you'll see I was grossly misinformed on a lot of things back then. And I was totally sucking the tit at a goddamn calories in, calories out, just like a lot of you still are. I still get tons of comments. I'm eating 1,500 calories a day. I'm in a 500 calorie deficit. Meh, 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 meh. And if you're throwing fasting in with that, then you're really fucking with your hormones. And you're going to be really hungry. And when you stop any of that, you're going to really gain the weight back. If you're like me and were obese to begin with, especially. And even people who seem fit are carrying a lot of extra fat that they really wouldn't have to carry, that would probably improve their health dramatically if they catered to their insulin resistance, gave into it, and said, I'm not going to overload my shit anymore. I'm not going to damage my shit anymore. And it's not a decision everyone can make, and I don't honestly know if I'll make it. You know, I could just as easily fall into that fuck this shit pattern. Fuck that. I'm going to eat whatever the fuck I want, even though I'm going to die. There's a lot of smokers like that. They don't give a shit. They'll smoke while they're dying. And if you're like that, all right, at least you know. At least you know what you're doing's fucked up. Every time I eat a cookie, I know it's fucked up. Every time I eat a piece of pizza, every time I eat bread, every time I consume carbs and sugar, I know I'm doing bad. I'm doing a bad thing for my health. And for my waist size. Now that I have that information, it's up to me. Personal responsibility comes back into it at that point, despite the addiction. Because I've been able to kick other addictions. This is the mother of them. This and caffeine. And I'm not giving up caffeine. I don't give a fuck. If they suddenly found out caffeine was going to murder me in the next 10 years, I would be like, all right, well, I'll start fucking making out a will. You know, and a lot of you may look at sugar and carbs that way. You might be like, I know it's bad. I know I'm going to die. I know I'm fat. You know, I'll just try and do the best I can with the fasting and ride it out. And that's a fine philosophy if you're okay with it. If your family's okay with it. But if you're not fine with it, if you want to change, then look into low carb, high fat. If you believe you're insulin resistant. Now, how do you determine if you're insulin resistant? I have to reiterate this in case those of you are asleep. First of all, if you're carrying a pooch, or in some case, a huge goddamn bulging, bulbous fucking pile of fat around your midsection, chances are you're insulin resistant. If about a quarter to a half to a third of the way through your day you need a nap, or you fall asleep watching a movie, or listening to a goddamn podcast, you're insulin resistant. If you have any blood sugar issues, or your A1C's high. If your A1C's high, you've been insulin resistant for a while. And you're becoming diabetic. And if you continue to eat carbs and sugar in that state, you're gonna fucking die at some point and have serious health problems. You're insulin resistant. If your blood pressure is high, or you have hypertension, chances are you're insulin resistant. If by some miracle you can find a way to get a glucose tolerance and an insulin test. Now, I stress the two of those together because they need to measure your baseline insulin when you're fasted. They need to see how high your insulin goes when you fucking do all that. I don't even know where you can go to get that test, but they exist. You can go find out if you're insulin resistant. Because if that shit's going on, you're insulin resistant to some degree. And some of you will argue that we've had carbs in our life for a really long time. Carbs have been around as long as meat and fucking fat has been around, and I would argue that in some places of the world that's patently not true, and people still thrive there. And I stress thrive, not survive. And that I believe that we started consuming more carbohydrate and sugar not because of any health reasons. I believe it was economic, that people ran out of fat and game to hunt, so they turned more to plant-based foods to survive. And survival does not necessarily equal health in all situations. In some places, if you didn't eat high carb, you starved. And a lot of that went on during World War II. A lot of Italian foods were developed by poor communities here in the United States and brought back to their own country because grain was cheap. Meat and fat were expensive and almost not available. There's a town in Pennsylvania where Italians got it right and they eat a lot of meat and fat. And they still eat some starchy carbs. And you know what? They still have obesity, but their heart disease and diabetes rates are low. So that begs some questions in there. How much can you have to live a decent length? Now, we all know that there were these diseases long ago, but they weren't nearly what they are today. Long ago, you got these diseases and heart disease. It was rare, you know, and it became high profile when one of our presidents had a heart attack. But in our grandparents' generation and their parents, they didn't have as much of a problem as we did. And they ate some carbs and some sugar, but they didn't eat it all day. They had 2 or 3 meals if they were lucky. Some people were too broke to do that. It means they were fasting. And they ate a lot of meat and animal fat. Vegetable oil's only been around. You know, that's in everything, by the way. Canola oil, particularly, I find a lot of. Soybean oil, those kind of things. They didn't exist back then. Crisco invented that shit in 1912. So you're going to tell me that's healthier for me than something that's been around for millions of years and I'm supposed to buy that? Am I dumb? It's sad that we gotta, you know, have these debates and talks, and that it's up to us too. That's the even sad part. I never pictured myself knowing the shit I know and having to learn it and having to understand it. I never used to care, and a lot of people don't. And it's because we all thought that there were people out there doing that for us. That there were people out there who cared about us, who wanted us to be healthy, didn't want us to die, didn't want us to get fat, didn't want us to have diseases, and they were doing their homework, and they were doing the research, and they were doing the studies necessary to protect us from that. And capitalism has gone and fucked that up. Now, I believe in capitalism, but I think it's run amok at this point, particularly with big food, big pharma, and healthcare. Those 3 industries, capitalism has gotten out of control, and greed and money have trumped public interest in health. And the only way we're starting to turn that around, and I do mean starting, as in this isn't the mainstream here, is word of mouth here on the ground with those of us who are fat and sick and know we are fat and sick and care that we are fat and sick. That is the group that is spearheading a lot of the anti-sugar movement, which is just now starting. And you're starting to see it creep in. You're starting to see Coke with stevia. You're starting to see sugar being recommended at 9 teaspoons a day, with no acknowledgement that they were wrong to begin with. With no, sorry, we fucked up. We realize we killed millions upon millions of you with our recommendations, but now all of a sudden we are going to not even apologize for that and just say, oh, by the way, you might want to limit your sugar. That's what the government and healthcare industry is doing right now. Right now, in this very moment, that's what they're doing. Oops. Fuck. Well, we can't tell them we're wrong because they'll never fucking listen to us again. So we'll just quietly say, by the way, 9 teaspoons of sugar is our daily recommended for sugar. Do you know how hard it is to keep it that low? And that's not even low. That's still too much for some of us. For some of us that are already there, that we're already fucked, we can't even do the 9 teaspoons per day. We can't even have 2 apples. 1 apple. And that's it. 1 apple with your steak, your omelet, your cheese, and you're done for your carbs for the day. And when are they just going to come out and look out for us for a change? Like they say they do. You know? When is the American Heart, apparently the American Heart Association is doing the same shit too. Because I can remember tons of them heart healthy goddamn emblems on boxes of cereals. You notice those are disappearing. Without any, oops, sorry, we fucked you, but it's your fault. Not ours, because we're smart. And you want to know why that is? Money. Big food, big pharma. Money. Science studies are not funded by the government for public interest. The ones that are government funded are lobbied for by the food industry. The food industry has permeated, and so has Big Pharma, all the government committees that are responsible for the research and the recommendations. Ancel Keys, who I would argue is the father of our fucking heart disease, diabetes epidemic, with his 7-country study, which should have been a 22-country, oops, I guess that was a mistake, but he was so full of himself, he knocked out all the countries that put the paradox into his study and gave us the ones that he knew from a previous study were going to enable him to say, look, fat is bad. Eat more carbs. Meanwhile, the motherfucker ate steak 3 times a week. I'm getting that from the current book I'm reading. Big Fat Surprise. By the way, not sponsored by any of these books. I just hear somebody talk about them, and I hear another person talk about them, and another person, and I'm like, maybe I should read that too, and then I go and read it, and I get even more pissed off about everything. Anyways, my results. Now, if you watched my other video, I gave you my measurement. I dropped down to 40 inches, so I lost 1.5 inches around my waist on the first week. I don't have my weight today because I wasn't able to weigh myself because I'm on the truck, but I am at 40 inches around the waist instead of 41.5. So I lost 1.5 inches in the first week from dropping off carbs and sugar. The weight that I was able to weigh in the middle of this was 205.4. I will weigh myself again, but it's fallen. It's fallen like a brick. I can feel it, see it, and my hunger's getting way better. You know, today I broke my 16-hour fast with steak and eggs, and that was a bitch too. Oh my God, the challenges of the goddamn ketogenic diet. I went and got steak and eggs. And then I had to sit there with the waitress who's like, do you want sourdough bread, wheat bread, or rye bread, bread? Finally I said sourdough bread. Didn't eat shit. Sourdough bread. And then I'm thinking that was it, because I just wanted that part to be over with, because I'm trying to cure my fucking addiction here, and you're fucking sitting here like, would you like some heroin? Would you like some crack? Would you like some fucking coke? Yeah, fucking yeah. LSD, bitch. Come on, let's go. That's what it feels like when you're a sugar addict and people are just, ugh. Or even worse, they're like, why aren't you doing that? Well, guess what the waitress did next? Without fail, I was like, oh my God. Then came the hash browns, which are cooked in vegetable oil, which I'm also trying to avoid. I'm trying to stick with animal fats and proteins. But she's like, you want hash browns? You want, potatoes? Would you have fries? Home fries? And no! You sure? But you don't want? But it comes with it? No! And then, just when I thought I was relieved, I was like, finally I'm getting my steak and eggs without any of the goddamn temptation. Yes, it's coming. And it was good. I loved it. I loved the steak seasoned perfectly. I poured extra salt on both of them because salt becomes an issue as you keto and fat adapt, especially if you fast on top of that. Less so if you're just doing keto without extremely long fasts, which I'm currently not doing. But anyways, 10 minutes into my meal, I'm sitting there, I'm eating my steak and eggs, and a different waitress walks by and notices there's no hash browns on my goddamn plate. And it's like, what, no hash browns? Finally, I broke down and I said, I don't eat carbs, I'm sorry. I don't want to. And that's one of the pitfalls of trying to be ketogenic. To those of us that can't go, like, I'm stuck at this truck stop. There's no kitchen. If I want to eat, I got to go in that goddamn restaurant and eat. And I got to pick something on the menu that I can eat and hope that they don't fuck with it, that they don't put sugar in it, that they don't cook it in vegetable oil, which if it has any oil component, chances are, now I could taste the butter in the eggs, so I know at least they're using butter on the eggs. Steak, I would hope they just use the steak, but they probably spray some vegetable oil on the goddamn grill or the pan or whatever. Can't be avoided, but I can at least knock it down some while I'm out eating in the world. The convenience store side of this truck stop, no real foods. Even the nuts are laced with sugar and carbs, and I try really hard to limit the kinds of nuts that I eat. Like, I eat high fat, high fiber, like almonds, pecans, walnuts, that kind of stuff. And I try and stay away from the peanuts and the cashews and the really carby nuts. And a lot of those are flavored with sugar, honey, or maple, or something from an organic farm's fucking asshole that is still sugar, but it's natural. It's good for you. But that's what I've been doing. I'm getting much better energy. My mind is on fire. Like, I'm got a thirst for knowledge. I'm learning. I'm doing a lot more than my carb brain. I shouldn't say everyone's carb brain, but my carb brain, when I'm doing sugar and processed foods, is not as sharp as it is now. So the ketones, I believe, definitely have an effect in improving mental function. My moods are fine. I get a little frustrated, but, that's the sugar addiction wearing off. But generally, I'm feeling fine. I did feel like shit over the weekend, because I believe part of that was my body's like, wait a minute, it's Saturday and you're not eating cookies. We always eat cookies on Saturday, you fucking bitch. Go and get some fucking cookies right now. And I didn't. Nope. What did I eat over the weekend? Well, I gotta remember. I had cheeseburger salad, which is the fattest cheeseburger we could find, mixed with some processed cheese. Not the best choice, but hey, what can you do? Can't always get the good shit. And poured over a salad. with some seasoning, Montreal seasoning in it. And I loved it. Filling, satisfying. I did eat a little bit excessively on I get this Veronica's Health Crunch stuff, which is filled with all the fibrous nuts and a little bit of sugar. But that was all the sugar I ate, and the only other carbs I ate was the salad part, and there's not a shit ton in there. So I was feeling the keto effects, And one of the things that you can sometimes feel, especially when you first hit ketosis, you'll sometimes feel like a science pressure ache. I wouldn't qualify it as a headache because it's not as powerful as that, but you feel it like a pressure in your head. I don't know exactly what that is and have yet to research it. My girlfriend says she once researched low carb and believed it was something about some gut bacteria or some fungus that feeds off of carbs dying off in our system, and as they die off they release toxins. That is not confirmed. I haven't read any literature to the subject. Not that I'm even sure that a lot of that exists, because we're just now getting into the gut microbiome and the research there, and a lot of that is tainted with all kinds of political and financial interests, so it's really hard to sort out what's good and what isn't. You have a supplement-heavy industry that is wanting to push the whole gut microbiome thing on you to try and get you to buy more supplements, so I tend not to trust a lot of the information in that arena. Trial and error with me. I still eat, and another thing that I eat, I didn't eat it that day, but the other dessert that I did have a dessert when I went to my mother's. The dessert was heavy whipped cream, like a small dish of it, about yay big, with a couple strawberries and about 9 or 10 blueberries in it. That was my dessert. That was the sweetest dessert I had all weekend. Of course, I have my coffee with heavy cream and the new Splenda Naturals, which has the erythritol and stevia mixture with no other ingredients. And that is working wonders I haven't had any serious cravings as a result like I was with the sucralose-based Splenda. So that's it. That's what I've been doing. And as far as out here in the world, I go and find as much meat and cheese as I can when I'm out and about, and I try and find it prepared appropriately. If I have time to stop for like a Denny's or one of the diners, then I know I'm pretty good to get some eggs and bacon, so I've done that. And I've had some of my Health Crunch out on the road, so I've done some of that. Trying to cut that down a little because I think I might be overdoing that. But that's what I've been doing, and if I can't find anything, I don't eat. I have plenty of fat to support not eating for a day or two if I have to. But I'm finding if I look, really fucking look, and take the time and energy to do so, that I find the foods I need. So that's all I got for today. And, tell me what you think of these long podcast-style talks. And if I get enough feedback that you guys like them, I'll keep doing them. If not, I'll try and make some of those slightly shorter, more to the point videos. But I get this flow going sometimes when I'm talking to the camera, and this, verbal diarrhea that just pushes all my thoughts and opinions out. And sometimes I lose track of time, and I don't like keeping track of time when I'm doing the talk. I want to get there, all right, when I'm trying to make a point. So hopefully week 2 is a walk in the park compared to week 1 as far as energy feelings. The pressure's gone. I'm feeling fine. Weight's falling off. Waist is shrinking, which is what I want. My goal is, for those of you who didn't watch my last video, my goal is to get the fat around my midsection down to below 35 inches. I'm not going for abs. I'd like to weigh around 193, which is where I believe my body at age 41, and with the damage I've done, is going to comfortably be happy staying. And I know the only way to stay there aside from really long fasts, which I could probably do, and I might do some still even with this intervention. It'll be interesting to see how that affects the set point, or if it reverses any of the insulin resistance. But so far, all the evidence I've seen and read says that it just causes a remission, as in it doesn't cure your insulin resistance to fast, it just makes it so it doesn't cause any damage. So, and all you're doing there is just not consuming carbs and sugar for periods of time. And you're alright, because most people, your liver makes it. And when I say most people, I mean 99%. There's that 1% that probably has a fucked up liver that's not doing too good, or maybe there's some type 1 diabetics that are having issues, but they tend to have the opposite problem. Instead of being fat and losing weight, they tend to have trouble gaining weight and have to take their insulin externally because they're not producing insulin, which can happen to a type 2 diabetic further down the road when your pancreas just says, fuck you, I'm done. But you can prevent all of that right now. Keto Adapt. Try it 6 weeks. Guaranteed you're going to drop a shit ton of weight. That you will get your hunger under control. You won't be hungry. And you can do shorter fasts and not worry about it at all. You don't have to look at no calorie counting. You don't have to go pound the fuckmaster if you don't want to. Recommend wait till you're adapted to pound the fuckmaster hard. For those of you who love going to the gym, if you want to go keto, you want to make sure you're adapted before you do any serious heavy training. And by that I mean marathon length running and, lots of cardio and that kind of endurance shit. You're going to struggle with energy in those situations. As far as lifters, you might notice a slight drop in strength to begin with, but rest assured, and I know this from experience, after your adaptation is complete, around 4 to 6 weeks, probably more towards the 4-week mark if you fast a lot, your performance will come back and it'll be just as good as a fucking carb burner's performance, if not better in some cases. That's research that doesn't belong to me. That's just what I've read and heard and seen. So remember, I'm not a motherfucking expert. I'm just a motherfucking asshole. Please like and subscribe. And I will make more goddamn videos for you. And the more you like and subscribe and comment and interact with me, the more time I will spend making videos. Because Lord knows I don't make money doing this. I'm only doing this because I can't make money today. If I wasn't snowed in, I'd be out there making some motherfucking money. But I'd still be contributing to this channel by doing research, because I listen to a lot of audiobooks and a lot of lectures and stuff while I'm driving. So even while I'm working, I'm multitasking on learning things to help you guys out who don't have the time to go out and learn this shit. And sometimes I don't have time. There's times I take breaks from the research to focus on other things. But for right now, I'm kind of focused on nailing down the ketogenic diet, overcoming the pitfalls and the shortcomings of the diet, and trying to get my waist size where I want it. And then once I do that, I don't know. Then I may have to reevaluate. Can I have the shit once a year? Can I have the shit once a month? Can I have the shit every couple weeks? Can I have the shit every week? Oh, I already answered that question. I can't have bad shit every week. I'm thinking it might be once a month, and even then I'm risking re-addiction. So, we'll see. See, I'm already that's how addicted I am. I'm already thinking of fucking cheat days. Gotta stop that shit. Tim Noakes says cold turkey. You don't get no. And he says he's been doing it for 6 years, allegedly. He says that after a while you don't want to or care to, and that if you do, you are putting your big toe in the water of shit that you just climbed out of by getting that shit out of your life. So, who knows? Can you eat just one potato chip? That's going to be the next question I address once I'm convinced I can sustain this way of life. But I will vlog about it. I will keep you up on things that I run into, and like the little story with the waitresses trying to pimp sugar and carbs on me. You know, I will keep you all informed and tell you how I deal with these things, and maybe that helps some of you. Because a lot of you like that I coach you, you know, and that gives you motivation or inspiration or something. I don't know how the fuck I do that, but I'll keep doing it if it helps. Have a nice fucking day.